Hey sailors, welcome to the crew. I'm Sailor Agenda, and this is my Let's Play of Wargame Red Dragon. We are going to get started with the third campaign, Pearl of the Orient, set in 1984, and in which we play as the United Kingdom. Our briefing is, when the lease of Hong Kong to the United Kingdom comes to an end, Margaret Thatcher's unflinching determination to retain the region drives China to resort to armed force to recover the Pearl of the Orient. Will the outnumbered garrison be able to hold its ground long enough while reinforcements make their way to Hong Kong? The answer, practically speaking, is no if this happened in real life. Not a chance, but in-game, it's just about doable, so...
June 1982. The Falklands War, Margaret Thatcher's war, ends in a complete British victory. The Iron Lady is at the top of her popularity and influence. September 1982. While on an official visit to Beijing, the British Prime Minister expresses Britain's wish to see China extending the lease of Hong Kong. Deng Xiaoping counters this by putting forward China's will to recover all of its territories that are still under foreign administration. 1983. For a year, negotiations are pursued with no positive results. When they reach a deadlock, the Chinese premier bluntly states that he could walk in and take the whole lot this afternoon. Encouraged by her aura as a victorious war leader in the Falklands, the British Prime Minister takes up the gauntlet and orders the reinforcement of Hong Kong's garrison. In retaliation, China masses troops on Hong Kong's border, hoping to force her to reconsider Britain's position. 6 months later, the Iron Lady hasn't yielded an inch, and even convinces several Commonwealth states to stand alongside Britain. April 19th, 1984. When it was unable to recover through diplomacy, China decides to recover by force. On April 19th, 1984, at 1 minute past midnight, China recalls its ambassador to Great Britain after transmitting a last declaration of war.
General. Oh hey, I'm actually a general this time instead of a major. Fantastic. General, the Chinese preparations to invade are more advanced than initially thought. Our intelligence estimates that their troops will cross the border at dawn. Our task force is en route, but it will only reach the China Sea in about 10 days. You must absolutely keep Hong Kong out of reach of Chinese troops until reinforcements arrive. The Prime Minister can then start diplomatic negotiations. Needless to say, these will be greatly influenced by the outcome of the fighting. Our armored units deployed to the Suen Plateau are ready to move and engage the enemy, sir. This plateau is a critical logistic platform. We would not survive if we lost it. The RAF and Australian planes are on full alert. They are being deployed to Lantau and Kowloon airports. Our Commonwealth allies are urgently sending us reinforcements. The Canadians should arrive tomorrow by plane. With their help, we must hold Hong Kong for as long as possible. So, turn 0. So here's the map. We actually start in control of most of it this time. Well, half of it, let's say. We've got basically 1, 2, 3... We've got some defense in-depth capability, which is nice, because if we start off holding these, they can push us back once, twice, 3 times, and we only have to hold Hong Kong until turn 9. That said, my understanding is that's for a minor victory. For a major victory, we need to hold these 3 secondary objectives, Lantau Island, Suen Wan, and Sai Kung. And for a total victory, we need to mop up all of the Chinese territories, or like all of them except 1 or something. But basically we need to mop up China completely and just end the war. Which is fairly ridiculous, but they don't have any safe territories except these. So, yeah. So what do we start with? What do they start with? There is a naval component, there's an air component, there's a ground component. We have nothing in the North District. In the new territories, there's just the Close Recon Company with some SAS in Pumas and some Rover Pinkies. That's basically useless. I mean, it's recon, but it's... yeah. Now here we have... this is pretty much the core of what we've got. We don't have a whole lot. But, yeah. In Swinwan, we have the Heavy Tank Battalion with a Chieftain Mark 10 command vehicle, 4 Challenger 1 Mark 1s, and 2 Scimitar Recon cars. And to be fair, the Challenger 1 Mark 1 is a pretty goddamn tough tank. Then we have the 2nd Royal Tank Regiment, which has command chieftains, sultans, some trucks, a very limited number of fusiliers, and blowpipe jeeps, which are not very good AA, but they're something. 205mm self-propelled guns, 2 scimitars, and a total of 12 Chieftain Mark 10 tanks, which are not challengers, but are themselves quite nice tanks. And then we have the Scots Guard Regiment, which has sultans, some trucks, and a good deal more fusiliers and blowpipes. All of our infantry are in these FV-432s, which are just very primitive, or very basic APCs. Apparently they're 20 years old. They've only got a machine gun, so they're not that useful. The Scots Guards do have 2 81mm mortars, 2 Scimitar Recon vehicles, 4 Rarden, I don't know what to call these. They're not armored. They're basically infantry fighting vehicles. I mean, they're a converted version of the FV-432. They're not going to be special at anything except maybe killing other APCs. And 8 Chieftain Mark 5s, which are the worst of the lot in terms of tanks, but still not terrible. Now, in Kowloon, we have the Anti-Tank Company. 8 infantry units in Saxon trucks, and these have Milan F2. What does SACLO stand for? I'm bad at post-1950 military terminology. Semi-automatic command to line of sight. Well, that's where you have to signal it with I don't know if it's usually a laser or what, but you have to signal it continuously. I see. Okay. Anyway, they have the Milan F2 missile, which it's infantry-based, so it's not the best, but it does have the capability to punch through the armor of basically anything. Some recon cars, and then some Wombats with 120mm guns, the very primitive ones and no armor, and some Strikers with 10 swing-fire missiles apiece, which are probably, well, they're officially similar to the Milans, but the Strikers will be a little easier to get into position. And we have a logistics company with 4 Chinooks. I'll look at the planes in a second. And then back on Hong Kong Island, we have another logistics company with FOBs and stalwarts, the Light Tank Battalion with 12 Scorpion light tanks, a couple of Scorpions, the Gunship Company with 4 Lynx helicopters with 20mm guns, 2 with TOW-2 missiles, and 1 Lynx 3, which is equipped with a Hellfire missiles, plus Stingers. Wow. Okay, we only have 1 of these, but this is a really damn nice helicopter. The Hellfires are at least marginally better than the TOW-2. Slightly better range, a little bit more penetrating power, but the TOW-2s are already very nice. But the Stinger missile means this thing will be hell on other helicopters as well. So that's a pretty decent helicopter company, although it's only got 3 really good helicopters. The 20mm value is questionable. Scorpion light tanks are pretty trash too, to be honest. And then we have the Gurkhas Regiment, which is all helicopter equipped. That's nice. They have a headquarters section with a Puma, plus a bunch of Lynx command helicopters, a couple of Chinooks, some recon helos with green jackets. And they have the Gurkhas themselves, which are very, very good infantry, as you would expect. Those are in Lynxes, which have some rocket ability, that's nice. And then they've got some Milan 1s, which are pretty decent themselves, and some SAS, which are also very good. Okay. Defending the secondary objective, Sai Kung is held by the 3rd Commando Regiment, which has headquarters unit, supply trucks, Royal Marines in FV-4333 Stormers. How did they come up with that name? But Royal Marines are absolutely crack infantry as well. Milan 1s, Javelins, 305mm self-propelled guns, the Abbotts, 6 special boat service guys in stalwart trucks, 6 Scimitar recon vehicles, 4 Centurion AVREs with 165mm, basically artillery pieces for guns. Oh, and they have a naval component, a substantial one, with 3 Type 21 frigates, 8 Fremantle class. I don't actually know what the Fremantle class is. I don't think that's even British, really. I think that's like Australian or something. New Zealander? No, it's Australian. Patrol boats is what they are officially. It's very unlikely they would actually have been here, but the the naval selection is just not that big. But 3 Type 21 frigates, 8 Fremantles, and a bunch more Royal Marines and Milans and everything else that are landed by sea, which is interesting. Does this map have... you can deploy by sea in this map. That's good to know. So they're pretty ideal, probably. I mean, they're going to have to just stand and defend the secondary objective, you would expect. And then Lantau Island, which is going to be even harder to get any other units to, is held by Air Defense Company with 12 total tracked rapiers. So, well, good for air defense, plus some javelins. And the Royal Hong Kong Regiment with headquarters section, some Fox recon cars, Rover Wombat, very primitive anti-tank, and basically a bunch of Territorials and Saracens, which are very basic infantry, to be honest. Not anywhere near as good as the Royal Marines or the Gurkhas. Some blowpipes as well. Now, in the air, we have the RAF Multi-Role Squadron out of Kowloon, 10 Harrier GR3s, twin 30mm cannons, unguided 68mm rockets, 36 of them, and 2 AIM-9L Sidewinder missiles. Always bad at that, too. Yes, Sidewinder missiles. With, well, this is the relatively new version of the Sidewinder. At the time, I think, but, we'll have to see exactly how that stacks up to the Chinese, but they're not, like, a dedicated... These are sort of all-rounders, and to be honest, they're not going to be great at either role. They can do air-to-air, they can do air-to-ground. Unguided rockets are probably the worst form of air-to-ground, if we're being honest. Worse than napalm. Napalm can be really deadly against infantry, or at a good choke point. The air-to-air missiles feel like an afterthought, so... I mean, we'll have to use them, but they're not that great. Oh, and then out of Lantau Island, we have the RAF Strike Squadron, which has 4 Tornado GR1s, 27mm Mauser cannon, 4 450-kilogram heat cluster bombs, which, yeah, those are going to be pretty nice, and 4 AIM-9L missiles. So, well, same missile, but they've got 4 of them. But identical in every regard otherwise, so they're still not that great at air-to-air, to be honest. A little better. They have better ECM too, 30%. Very good air detection. These are sitting at 10% and good, so the Tornadoes are better, but not that great. And then I'm guessing this is what we actually, yeah, this is what we need to use for actual air-to-air. The Royal Australian Air Force Fighter Squadron of 3 F-4E Phantom 2s, 20mm Vulcan cannon, 4 AIM-9B Sidewinders, which that's a much more primitive form of the Sidewinder, but they've also got 4 AIM-7F Sparrows, which have a much, much longer kill range. Slightly worse accuracy than the AIM-9L, but much longer range, which is really the most important factor in most of the air-to-air combat in this game. Limited ECM, very good air detection. I mean, these are our best air units for sure. They're just not that flawless, but we'll see what China has, I mean. And then here's our only mobile fleet force, the RN Hong Kong Squadron. consisting of 6 Type 21 frigates, 16 Pegasus missile boats, I think I would call these, really. I have no idea what these actually are in real life. The naval combat is very, hydrofoils. Huh. Also, 16 is vastly more than ever existed in real life. Okay, I have no idea why they decided to represent those in game. I think they just needed a missile boat, and NATO didn't really build a lot of those. 16 Chom-Suri class gunboats, which have 40mm guns plus CVIS, and 6 LCUs for resupply. There is a Chinese naval force up there. We don't know how strong that is. And there's another Chinese naval force over here, which has 8 Ludus, 20 Mosquitoes. Well, we're outgunned just by that on its own. Not by a huge margin, but we are. 16 Sham 2s, which... yeah, this force feels built very similar to the RN Hong Kong Squadron, but just a bit more numerous. But their lack of supply vessels might ruin them in a slugging match. We'll see. Oh, and that's got a Marine regiment with it, which has... well, Marines. Yeah. And those have more Mosquitoes as well, so... it would be nice to stop those getting ashore, but not much to be done about it directly. I mean, I don't think I can send the naval squadron that way. Not safely. For right now, the only reinforcement we have available is number 15 Squadron RAF, aka the Tornado Naval Squadron, which has a total of 6 Tornado GR-1Bs. These are equipped with 4 AIM-9L Sidewinders and 2 Sea Eagle air-to-surface missiles, which, yeah, I mean, it spells it out in the instructions. These are really only useful for targeting enemy ships. So it looks like we get, as long as we hold all of our secondary objectives, we get effectively 13 reinforcement points per turn, which is a very random... oh no, 15, I missed Kowloon. 15 points per turn. I assume that more, well, they said explicitly that the Australians and Canadians are on the way to help us. Hopefully they are. Okay, so what moves do we want to make on turn 1? We can't really attack. Okay, let me see what else China has here. Militia Regiment. Nothing special, but, like, they have numbers. Jiangxi, Yubei, some ZTSs. Tank Regiment, leading the charge. 21st Tank Regiment has PGZ-80s and 40 tanks, which is already more tanks than we have in our whole force. Terrible tanks, don't get me wrong, but more than we have in our whole force. A light tank battalion with more ZTS-63s. Heavy tank battalion with ZTZ-88Bs. And those... we have better tanks, but we don't have that many better tanks, so that's a lot of tank power. And attack helicopters, Z5As and SA-342s. We don't have that many attack helicopters either. Independent Tank Battalion, 44 more tanks. Plus 11th Tank Regiment, 60 more tanks. That's a lot of tanks, guys. Not gonna lie. I can't see what's there. Pinghu is their staging point where their air force is. And they've got their Reserve Tank Regiment. More tanks. Anti-Tank Company. Anti-tank, tank destroyers, etc. Airborne Regiment. With a lot of nice Shanxi, plus a lot of attack helicopters. Not that many dedicated attack helicopters, but still. Oh, and they've got 2 of them. Almost identical, although not quite. Now, their actual air force, they have 1 multi-role squadron with 12 Q-51As. These are mostly bombers. They do have 2 PL-2 missiles. These are, to be fair, inferior in air-to-air to pretty much anything we have. The anti-ship squadron, 6 GH-7 Feibaos. These are probably more dangerous anti-ship aircraft than the tornadoes we can call in, and we don't even start with those tornadoes. First Fighter Squadron, 6 J711Ms, which are dedicated air-to-air aircraft. They're not that good at it, to be fair. 4 PL-5 missiles. Most of our aircraft can take that on, but not at a decisive advantage. And first multi-role squadron, 8 J7Cs with 2 PL-5 missiles and 2 500-kilo air-to-ground bombs. I guess I don't know of any not air-to-ground bombs. I don't know why I threw that in there. Okay, to be fair, they don't have any really good air superiority aircraft, so we have a fighting chance there. But, alright, I've been talking for like 20 minutes already, and we've made no moves. Let's make a save. And maybe a backup save. And let's start moving. I'm gonna send this fleet this way. I believe... I have to assume we're getting naval reinforcements too. In any case... Here's the thing, they could try a direct attack on Hong Kong Island, etc., unless we intercept them, but... I'm gonna send this fleet this way to deal with whatever this is. I'm gonna hold these guys on Lantau Island. Am I going to try to hold these sectors? Yes. I think the more defense in depth, the better. I'm going to send the heavy tank battalion that way. I'm going to send just the 2nd Royal Tank Regiment to the North District. I'm going to get these guys moving. It's very unlikely these guys are going to need the supplies. I guess I'll send them here. I will get the logistics company, and for sure the gunship company and the light tank battalion moving. I'm gonna... I'm gonna hold the Gurkhas here until I'm sure that these Marines aren't going to attack here, basically. Because obviously losing Hong Kong Island would be an instant loss, and we can't have that happening. So let's see what the Chinese do. Our operators confirm enemy advance towards the North District and new territories. Enemy forces estimated at 2 armored battalions as well as a squadron of attack helicopters. Likely enemy aerial cover. I already screwed up. I didn't send my planes in. Canada is sending several airborne detachments. They can deploy from Kowloon and Lantau airports. Government has just authorized us to use the aircraft carrier HMS Illustrious. Well, yes, her being nearby would be handy. Oh, okay, they don't initiate. Okay, I can send the planes in now then. So we did get our 15 reinforcement points. We would get a ton for... I mean, we could get it up to... Shenzhen isn't worth anything, but every other Chinese territory is worth a lot, potentially. 5, 10, 20... 35 we could get, so 50 per turn if we took all the Chinese territories. Okay, new reinforcements. Not a lot, but something. HMS Illustrious and her escort force, composed of 4 Type 21 frigates, 8 Oliver Hazard Perry class frigates, which we don't have unless the US is involved in this war, but never mind it. 12 Pegasus class hydrofoils, 6 LCU 1610s, and 8 Lynx helicopters with 4 Sea Skua missiles apiece, which are basically just flying gunboats. We're probably going to need that in order to intercept this force as quickly as possible. There's also the Fleet Air Arm Fighter Squadron, which has 8 Sea Harrier FRS-1s with AIM-9Ls. These are air-to-air combatants. They are... to be fair, these are straight up better than anything China has, but they're not that great. Ultimately, either. I could call this and its fighter squadron in this turn, or I could get this and maybe the Tornado Squadron. And then on land, we have Princess Patricia's regiment. Princess Pat's regiment itself, infantry equipment, infantry regiment equipped with fast armored personnel carrier Grizzly. Very confident in urban combat, very low anti-tank capability. That is bad, because the Chinese army is composed almost entirely of tanks. So... well, yeah, it's got a command element, it's got some cargo trucks, one FOB, and then the bulk of it is Canadian rifles in Grizzlies, which are pretty basic APCs with Brownings. The Canadian rifles themselves are decent infantry, but not, like, good. Not Royal Marine or Gurkha level. The Pioneers have napalm, and there's some blowpipes as well. They have some recce elements, and some Cougars, which are armored cars. And some Cougars that aren't recon, and are just armored cars, but have worse optics, otherwise identical. They also have, separate but existent, an anti-tank battalion with ADAT's experimental unit capable of accurately destroying both ground and air targets. Now, this unit has one command vehicle, so it's not much of no supplies either. So, yeah. This technically has the ability to operate independently, as long as it has this one command vehicle, but practically you're not going to want to use it independently. But 16 Maw infantry with Carl Gustavs, not good against other infantry. They only have SMGs, but quite good at killing tanks. Those come in Grizzlies. 6 tow jeeps, 12 106mm M113s, and most importantly 4 M113 ADATs, which have 70% accuracy, 8 ADATs missiles which can hit ground or air targets with an astonishing amount of AP and HE power, so those are really, really, really nice, yeah. Those will slaughter tanks or planes. I want that pretty bad, to be honest. But I think we need to get the Navy deployed first. I'm going to call in HMS Illustrious. I think... where can she enter? Okay, she can only enter over here. November. And I'm going to move her straight down to Lima sector to cover Saikung. And then I'm going to call in the Tornado Naval Squadron. Okay, that can't operate off of Illustrious apparently, but I'm going to call that in at Kowloon. And assign that to cover Illustrious. Okay. What else then? Okay, on the assumption that that will stop that attack, I'm going to send the Gurkhas up towards the front. Along with these companies. And, oh, I can get these into battle, okay. Send, wait. What is this? One gunship company, one anti-tank company. Oh, I forgot gunships could do that. I think that's kind of game-breaking. I don't know if they thought about that or not, but I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna send all the reinforcements I can into this sector right now, except I'm gonna hold the gunships back. Because if we win in the North District, and then they follow up to Yantian, theoretically, they would literally just wipe this whole part of the attack force. So that would be something to be desired. Okay, so here we're dealing with attack helicopters, light tanks, tanks, heavy tanks. Just piles of tanks and some attack helicopters, plus fighters and some AoE bombs. Do we have any anti-air worth a damn? Just blowpipes. That is not adequate, but it's what we've got to work with. It would be nice to have the attack helicopters here. They could make a lot of difference, but I really want to try to do that, because it would be epic, so... let's see... Let's send the tornadoes to here. Let's send... send the... Wait, can these make it all the way to there? They can, okay. I'm going to send the Phantoms here to try to intercept the Q-51s. And I'm going to send the Harriers here. Oh, and you can move again, so let's send you into Echo. That Chinese fleet did not move yet. Well, neither of the Chinese fleets did. Okay. I'm pretty alright with our dispositions so far. It's just a question of winning these battles, which is not going to be that easy. Because we're grossly outgunned. Yeah. Thanks for watching, sailors. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, consider leaving a like or subscribing. New parts will be up every other day for the most part. Or you can watch live on Twitch once a week. Have a nice day, sailors. This is Sea Lord Jenda, signing off.